What should you include in your resume? This is the biggest question that we get. So we'll just go from top to bottom. Contact information. Obviously, if you're applying to anything, you should give somebody a way to contact you in case they're interested in giving you an interview or even bringing you onto the job. Work experience. This includes like the dates you worked there, the company that you work for, your title, responsibilities, and showing the impact you made through your descriptions for each work experience, so that people have a better understanding of how you work as a person and what were the results of your time spent there. I know a lot of students don't have work experience, so one thing that comes up a lot is what to put there if you don't have official work experience for a company that has paid work. So volunteer experience is a great way to show that you have been spending your time, maybe not formally in a job, but spending your time doing other things like volunteering, whether it's for Best Buddies or Habitat for Humanity or any of those organizations. You can definitely list that down to supplement the lack of work experience. Education, so dates attended, schools, majors. Study abroad is optional. When I studied abroad, I put that on my resume as well. And your anticipated graduation date if you haven't graduated from high school just yet. I avoided putting GPAs on here just because they aren't as relevant once you get out of college. And so GPA is optional, but I tend to not look at that anyways. And I know that many people don't rely on GPAs on someone's resume to determine if they're right for the job. Skills and languages. So if you're a native English speaker, but you also know Spanish and Portuguese and French, you should list all of those things. And also like the proficiency level that you're able to speak or do something in. Tools are highly recommended, including tools like, for example, Figma and Notion as a designer. Those are important things for our design team. And so listing Figma, Canva, Sketch, anything related to that job that you're applying for, I would highly recommend including relevant tools, skills, and languages that are definitely related to that job. And then what you should do with your resume is to make sure that you're catering your resume so that it is unique to that job, right? Sometimes you might want to just use your resume for one resume for several things, but it might be better to approach it where you are crafting a resume that's unique to that job application. So while you shouldn't apply to everything under the sun, you should definitely pick and choose which jobs and opportunities are the most important for you and then go from there. And then the last thing that you should take note for your resume is to make sure that you're avoiding, slang and jargon within your resume. So, and then stick to the language typically used in the industry you're looking to work within, right? This shows you have some knowledge in that field already, and that that you're building a resume that anybody can read. Whether it's the hiring manager or an assistant or another intern, for example, like you want to be able to make sure that anybody can read and understand your resume and build that picture of you in their minds. Highlights of a strong resume, work experience. So again, this is your chance to really sell yourself and why you're the best candidate. Your work experience should be very specific. It should not just be a listing of your responsibilities, but what you're able to accomplish, right? When I talked about showing off the impact that you made in that role, you can see through the example here that's listed that in the red, I would consider that like a no-no. It's very vague and it doesn't really show the work that you put in. And so if you look at the second one, that one is more detailed, right? It shows what happened over a span of time, how you grew or made it better, and it shows a time frame as well in which you worked. So if you compare the first if you compare the first example to the second example, you can see a clear difference in how those are written, so that it really reflects the level of work and effort that you put into your role. Similarly, skills, languages, and tools. Again, I really want to stress including these because they really show how you're a value add. And sometimes your day-to-day sometimes your day-to-day responsibilities in your previous jobs or experiences don't really show don't really portray everything that you actually know how to do. And so this is also a good way to supplement that as well. For example, if you have a skills and languages section and you just put English and Spanish without indicating like your level of proficiency in those areas, then that makes it really hard to determine like if you can actually speak that language in full or if it's just like a basic understanding, right? And it's okay to show off like, if you have a native proficiency, intermediate, advanced, or even a basic understanding. At least identifying those things will show that to your job, your employer, whoever, that you have a lot of these other skills that could be used if the situation arises that would need them. Layout and design. So this is a really big one that a lot of people get wrong, including myself, that, over the years, I've definitely designed the wrong type of resume for a lot of different reasons. But these are the main points that typically come up for students. In terms of your resume length, keep it to 1 page. Hiring managers all over the place will not have that much time to read through like a several page resume. And so keeping it concise, but also making sure that you are getting all the information across appropriately will be important. So make sure that you can strike that balance well. And it's something that you can always work on and practice. You can write you can write a full resume and then trim it down like that. That's a good exercise as well to kind of help you understand where you need to optimize and refine the language so that it gets your point across better and in less words. Structure your resume physically so that the reader can just scan the page easily, and then stick to 1 to 2 columns max. You don't need 4 or 5 columns because that's not how people will read naturally. And so trying to stick to 1 to 2 columns is ideal. If somebody can just look at your resume from top to bottom, then you should definitely optimize for that. Avoid using graphics, any wonky clip art, non-traditional fonts. So anything that you can't find in like a Google fonts, I would probably avoid. And then any other design elements that will distract from the information that's available, right? If you are a designer, for example, you'll have a separate portfolio where you can show that off. But for your resume, keep it minimal, keep it black and white. You want to make sure that when somebody also prints your resume, for any reason, that they can easily still read your resume. And then if you use non-traditional fonts, sometimes those don't export correctly, and so your resume will end up not looking the way you had hoped anyways. And the order of information is important, right? Your contact info, your work experience, education, those should all be prioritized, whereas secondary sections like skills and languages, those can be listed at the bottom.